introduction and couldn't remember the name. Okay. Actually, it's good to be back to Atlanta, and I'm going to make it short so you guys can, so the authors can make their money and you guys can get your books. And I'm going to start with my first novel, and my first novel, My Man, My Boys, deals with the friendships that we encompass. Okay, that we encompass as gay black men. Once you leave home, I believe the family that you're born with isn't the family that you die with. So you embrace these group of friends that you know more about them than you know about your own family. So my novels deal with homophobia, gay bashing, everything that a gay black man has to go through as a child and through adulthood. So with my first novel, I'm going to kind of set the stage. You have a guy, his name is James. He's at the car wash and he's cleaning his car. Gay men aren't afraid of telling you what their sexuality is. They're afraid of telling you because they don't know what you may do with that information. James had mentioned to this female that he was gay and he was in a loving relationship. So she's hanging out with the guys and a couple of her girlfriends. So she mentions to the guys that he's gay. So immediately he becomes a target. So this is actually a gay bashing scene. James is actually driving down the street and he's actually stopped at a stoplight. Unconsciously, James reached for his cell phone. Just as he grabbed the phone, Curtis nervously pulled the trigger, firing a deadly shot to James's abdomen. For a second, James thought he'd been punched, but when he touched his stomach, he felt the sticky warmth of his blood. James was shot. He struggled to stand but collapsed to the pavement. Shock and fear began to choke him, and everything began to turn white. Why did he have to move? Why did he have to move? Curtis yelled hysterically, knocking himself in the head with his hand. Chuck sat at the car petrified, his head buried in the spokes of the steering wheel. He kept repeating to himself, what did we just do? What did we just do? Man, come on, let's go. You done killed him, we gotta get out of here. Come on, let's go, Carlton said, pulling Curtis away from the scene into an awaiting getaway car. Move, nigga, Carlton snapped, pushing a catatonic Chuck out of the driver's seat. With Curtis' head spinning a mile a minute and Chuck whispering prayers to himself, the three drove off, hoping that the horror of the last 5 minutes was nothing more than a terrible nightmare. James heard his cell phone ring for the second time. He momentarily blocked out the sleepy sensation that was overtaking him. He struggled to pull himself up on one elbow to answer the familiar ring. Baby, where are you? You should have been here over 10 minutes ago, Therese said, chuckling with mock annoyance. James heard the words in his head and struggled to make them leave in his mouth. Finally, he faintly heard himself say, a couple of blocks away, I've just been shot. Tariq felt the shot of adrenaline and panic hit him. Before the words had completely settled in his brain, he yelled, I'm on my way, hold on, don't hang up. Tariq sprinted up the street towards where James lay dying. His pace didn't affect his dread-drenched words of support to his soulmate. He didn't want to lose the sound of James's voice. When Tariq reached James, his body dangled between the car door and the ground. He desperately looked around to see one of the neighbors coming around the corner. Tariq yelled, call 911. He slammed his own cell phone to the ground and ran to James's side. Tariq slid down next to James and put his upper body in his lap as he waited for help to come. I'm sorry to spoil our anniversary, baby, James uttered with short breaths, his eyes almost completely closed. The sound of James apologizing shattered Tariq's heart. You didn't spoil anything. We're going to have plenty more to celebrate, Tariq said, tears streaming down his cheeks. James could feel the life force slipping out of his wounded body. James suddenly started to see a warm, soft light, and the sound of Tariq's voice grew muffled and faint. He fought to look at Tariq, but his vision became blurry, and all he could think about was whatever waiting for him on the other side. Listen, Tariq, James dribbled out. I want you to know that I've always loved you, and I want you to love again. James paused before continuing. If I don't make it, I want you to know I will still be with you. I will still be with you. As he felt his heart drumming to a slower beat, he finally said, but I want you to love again, okay? Tariq shook his head from side to side in disagreement, not wanting to hear what James was saying to him. Don't talk like that, James. Just hold on a little longer. It's gonna be all right. You're not going anywhere. Realizing that time was rushing by, Tarif looked up frantically, eyes darting from corner to corner, wishing to see flashing lights or hear siren sounds of hope, but there were none. The cool and eerie silence told the story. As Tarif looked back down at James, he had closed his eyes. They were never opened again. Rocking James in his arms, Tarif cried and kissed James' lips. Now from Deception, Lies, and Truth, just to kind of set the scenario here, just imagine that you're in your bedroom, you're about to go to sleep, but there's something unsettling, but you can't put your hand on it. It's just a bad feeling, only to find out that there's someone under your bed. Okay.
Is he cute?
Okay, Barbara came out of the bathroom and noticed Tanya searching for something. Girl, what are you looking for now? I could have sworn I left my nightgown here on this chair, and now it's not here anymore. You sure you left it there? You know how your mind has been lately. You need to get some sleep, Barbara said as she climbed in the bed. Tanya felt chill bumps all over her as she looked around the room. Is it cold in here to you, Barbara? No, I'm fine. If you're cold, close the damn window. Tanya took a look out the window, and the streets were dark except for the lamp and porch lights that were on. Tanya grabbed an oversized t-shirt and sat on the side of her bed. She looked around the room in a calculating manner. She knew something was just not right, but for the life of her, she just could not put her finger on it. She thought about all the little mishaps that had been happening to her lately, and she knew something in her home was amiss, but she didn't know exactly what. Tanya, what's wrong now? Barbara asked as she sat up in the bed. I'm not sure. I have this strange feeling, but it's unexplainable. Tanya pulled the covers back and crawled into bed. Before either woman could talk about Tanya's suspicion, both women were comfortably sleeping. The room felt quiet, and all that could be heard was the tick-tock of the wall clock. Larry waited a solid hour before he eased himself from under the bed, dragging the nightgown that Tanya was looking for. He bumped into her arm, dangling over the mattress. Oh shit, Larry quietly reprimanded himself in a hushed tone. He inhaled the scent of the nightgown once more before carefully laying it back on the chair where it was earlier. Larry stood next to Tanya's bed watching both women as they slept. Unexpectedly, Tanya coughed and rolled over, facing Larry. Larry jumped, looking for cover in the darkness that bathed the room. He noticed that Tanya hadn't opened her eyes. Larry crawled along the floor and grabbed the nightgown, balled it up, and stuffed it inside his shirt. He didn't want to leave any evidence of his visit. Larry eased back on the floor and slowly crawled on his belly until he was outside the bedroom and stood up once he was in the safety of the hallway. And the last book is actually Roman. And I think once I wrote Roman, I decided that I wasn't going to read excerpts anymore because it kind of gives away a lot in the book. But the whole premise of Roman is you can't help who you fall in love with. So you have a guy who's a drug dealer on the streets, and then you have a masculine, average, gay black male, and their lives are actually thrown together. So will their lives become, when their lives are thrown together, will they actually end up in a relationship? So you'd actually have to read it in order to find out what happens. That's about it.